And here I am with our October. Can't believe we're in October, guys. October true crime recap. So this month we're going to be doing Abducted in Plain Sight, y'all. This I haven't typed so fast when it comes to a documentary or anything. This is going to be nuts. So because this is 1 hour and a half um documentary, there isn't parts for this. This is still being split into two, so you'll kind of know what that is if you're listening to this on the main feed. um Again, yes, this is being split into two. If you want to hear more about this, you will need to come on over to patreon.com/reality tea times two. And there you can sign up for the third tier that is $7 a month, and you can get the rest of this coverage over there, as well as the other documentaries that we've done um, over the course of this year. And I won't go into all. Well, I'll go into all of that because I'll probably just edit this out for the Patreon. But that would include the Ashley Madison documentary. We did Twin Flames. We did Lacey Peterson one. We've done Into the Fire. We've done so many. We did the Menendez brothers in August. And then last month we did the This is a Zodiac speaking or whatever it was. So those are the ones we've done this year. Those are the ones you can look forward to if you want to head on over to the Patreon and also get this as well, the full thing. Anyways, no more talking. Let's get it into this freaking documentary. We all know where we were when we watched this documentary for the first time. So we start off with a man saying, I found the little girl that he's looking for. This freaking creep. I'm not going to be calling him B or Berchtold or whatever. I'm not calling him that. He is creep, maybe pedo. We'll figure it out as I go along. Anyways, we meet Jan. We also meet her sisters, Karen and I think it's Carol and Susan. And we also meet her dad, Bob, and her mother, Marion. Her parents were sweet and traditional, Jan says. Her dad was a florist. He had his own business. Mom, or Marion, was the one who met this creep for first in June of 1972. He was married, he had 5 children, they would all hang out with each other, have dinner together. Everyone kind of had their friend that they were close with. The kids would play with the kids, the parents would, be with the parents. He also worked in business, so there was kind of this similarity, or this connection that Bob and this creep could, kind of have in common with each other. They started calling him B. B for, I don't even know. B for, this, no. He would come over at night and talk to the parents. Why? You have a wife and 5 fucking children at home. How about we stay with them? But whatever. He had nicknames for Jan, but the one that seemed to stick the most was Dolly. Dolly like a doll. Dolly. Cute, childlike Dolly. I added that part because he's a creep. We end up hearing, because there's a few recordings of this creep that was taken, either it was from him or whatever, but we hear a creepy tape from this creep saying, she said I love you and I love her. We kissed. No man could love a woman more. Here's the fucking problem, you fucking creep. She's not a woman. She is a child. She's a little girl. Oh, that's so this guy's still alive, isn't he? Can we, I don't know, throw him under something? put him into a volcano and just watch him burn? This guy is so disgusting. Anyway, parents noticed that he tended to pay a lot of attention to Jan, and they responded back with, it was weird. You don't fucking say. I mean, I'm sorry. Listen, I feel, do I feel bad for I do feel bad for the parents of having to go through their child getting abducted. Not once, not twice. It wasn't like 3 times. I haven't finished the whole documentary yet as I'm recording this. I still have like 20 minutes left. But I do feel bad in that sense. I feel bad for like Carol and Susan, the sisters. I feel bad for them. But the signs were fucking in front of your face and you let this man get away with it. I have so much that I am going to say about these parents, but we'll get there. October 17th, 1972, this creep calls and says, listen, I want to take Jan horseback riding. So at first, Marion was like, oh, it's a school night. Like, I don't know. But this is kind of what happened when he came up to pick her up. And she also said, she also has piano lessons. And he's like, okay, no, that's fine. I'll pick her up from her piano lessons and then I'll take her horseback riding. So at that point, she said, okay, just make sure that she's home in time for when Bob comes home to have dinner. Spoiler alert, she'll be late. Really fucking late. So when he picks her up from the piano lessons, they're driving to the quote unquote horseback riding. And he says, here, take your allergy medicine before we get there. So by the time we get there, your allergy medicine would have kicked in. Y'all, spoiler alert, it wasn't allergy medicine. It's never allergy medicine because this poor girl ends up passing out on the way to the horseback riding. She says, I have absolutely no recollection of anything. She has no recollection of getting to the horseback riding. She has no recollection of anything. She was out. So moving on from that, we kind of hear more from Bob and Marion, and they say, no, she didn't come home. Yeah, no, she didn't fucking come home. His wife ended up coming by, and she was worried about, you know, about them and what was kind of going on. But here's the thing. I have questions for his wife because when they say, maybe we should call the police. No, not maybe we should call the police. I'm calling the fucking police. But anyways, his wife, I think her name was Gwen, she basically said, no, like, don't call the police. Excuse me, bitch. What do you know? What do you know about your husband? You most likely know he's a creepy ass pedophile motherfucker who's around your 5 children, and you probably know this and know that he's most likely going to get imprisoned. And then what does that mean for you? Because you're not working. You're a housemaker, which that's a job, but you know what I'm trying to say here. He's the one that's bringing in the bread and the fucking butter. So if he gets arrested, what does that mean for her? So they're like, okay, fine, we'll wait before we call the police. No, your child is missing. Whether you think she's been abducted or not at this particular point in time, your child and this creep is missing. Call the fucking police. But anyways, that's fine. Thursday comes, nothing. She's not there. Friday comes, nothing. She's not there. So then at this point, they decide to call the FBI to get help because, well, they're not here. But the office for the FBI, the FBI office where is close to them was closed. And it basically said, call this other number, in case of an emergency, and, in case like we're closed. They come back with this shit. With this shit. Well, we don't want to call them for no reason. We don't want to like worry them or anything. We don't want to fucking say our child's missing. But we don't want to worry them. We don't want to get them, So we'll wait until Sunday. We'll wait another 2 fucking days. Meanwhile, this man is having his way with your child. But anyways, we're going to wait another 2 days. Wait till Sunday and see what happens. So Saturday, nothing. Not a word. And Sunday, they call and they tell the FBI, look, we don't think he kidnapped her. No, we don't think he did that. Okay, so if you don't think he kidnapped her, Could there be the potential that they could be dead in a ditch somewhere and you just sat on it for 4 days? Like, what the fuck? But anyway, we don't think he kidnapped her. No, no. We just think like maybe he took her somewhere. That's kidnapping. That is the literal definition of kidnapping. We don't think, we just think he took her. Are we okay? Are we okay? I know we didn't have the internet. I knew we don't have smartphones back then, but we had the Webster's dictionary, okay? You could have gone and looked into the definition of kidnapping, and it would have told you what you just fucking said is the definition of kidnapping. Anyways, the agent has to drill it into them. No, ma'am. No, sir. He kidnapped your child. I will fucking say. Anyways, his wife says, well, he has a motor home and like a storage unit. You say this now. You say this now. You know that he has a storage unit in a motor home and a storage unit, and you say it now. You didn't think to mention that 4 days ago? Okay, so they go and they check the storage unit to see if the motorhome is still there. Would you not believe it? Surprise, surprise, everybody. The motorhome was gone. Oh, but he didn't kidnap her. He just took her somewhere. The fuck? They find his car around the area of wherever they were going to go horseback riding, I guess. I don't know. But they found his car with broken windows and blood on it. But then they stay stupid. They also found tire tracks that looked like it came from the motorhome and a set of footprints, most likely his footprints. And the fact that they didn't see a second pair of footprints, they most likely thought he probably carried Jan to the motorhome and then now they're gone. So when talking to the community, the FBI found out that he definitely had a little thing for young girls. Excuse me? Excuse me. Listen. If someone in your community has a thing for little girls, okay? So like Carol Burnett and Annie, little girls, like if he has a thing for little girls, do we think maybe we need to, I don't know, hang him by his ankles? Run him out of town? With pitchforks and the whole deal like he's Dracula or something? Do we think we need to burn him at the stake or something? We're just gonna, oh, that birch told. He just has a thing for young girls. It's fine. The fuck is going on? We meet his brother at this point. There's gonna be times I'm gonna like him. There's gonna be times I'm like, are you for real here? Right now, I like him. He said, oh yeah, no, my brother's a pedophile. Yep. He apparently tried to get two other little girls before the parents told him to fuck all the way off and get the fuck away from our kids. The things that maybe the Broberg should have done, but I digress. At that point, because those two failed, ew, he ended up finding Jan. So Jan and her sister Susan apparently shared a room. This always pisses me off. It was a big room. So the creep basically said, you know what? You girls, you're so big. Yeah. You should have your own room. So what did this guy do? What did he do? He inserted himself into a situation that had nothing to fucking do with him and built a wall between these two girls. Donald Trump would be proud. Anyways, basically what he ended up doing here is, as we know, separating Susan away from Jan so that he can have his way with Jan without Susan seeing a thing. More on that in a minute. They would apparently have sleepovers at the creep's house. They would sleep on this trampoline, Jan's telling us, that under the stars. Sounds absolutely beautiful, except for what's coming next. She says one particular night, she woke up to find her underwear down and his hands on her. I mean, oh, I got the got the freaking chills. What would you have done if one of your children woke up and saw you doing that? Or her sisters? I don't know where his wife was in this moment, but like, what if? I don't know if the sisters were there or not, if it's just Jan, but like, what if he said, oh, what? You're just tossing and turning and Then you probably just like tossed and turned right out of your fucking underwear. Okay, listen, I've tossed and I've turned. I'm sure you've tossed and you've turned. I have never tossed and turned to the point where my underwear is falling off. That doesn't happen. That does not happen. But anyways, she's 12, so she's going to believe the adult in the room or the adult in the backyard of this case. But anyways, Jan said she would take trips with him and his family. One day, on one of the trips, I can't remember where they said they went, I think Seattle. She said, he was saying, well, she was like rocking back and forth, like something was wrong or something. So he ended up taking her to the hotel where they were staying while like the rest of his family is staying back and having dinner with whatever, with whomever. She says that she was in and out of consciousness, so she was most likely drugged. And she said that she ended up seeing him naked. What the fuck are you naked for? The fuck are you doing? We know what the fuck he's. Ooh. Then we move on to the parents. We move on to what he's going to do with the parents. So apparently he would call Marion saying, hey, I can't leave work right now. Can you bring me a sandwich? My response. If a man who is not my man is calling me and asking me, hey, can you bring me a sandwich? I'm going to respond back with, call your wife. I'm not your wife. I am not responsible for feeding your stomach. The fuck do you think this is? So she does. She brings him a sandwich and I guess neglects that maybe Bob wants one too. She says that they hung out for a bit, talked and all that. And she said she felt attraction to him. What ended up solidifying her attraction to him, though, was one time they, I guess, went to some sort of church like outing or something, and they drove to a mountain during this church trip. And there was some serious heavy petting, boobs touching, kissing. Got carried away, she said. It was a great feeling, she said. And I'm like, ma'am, ma'am, ma'am. Listen, listen. If you're gonna have an affair behind your husband's back, listen, I don't give a fuck. Not ideal, but I don't care. What I care about is that he is only doing this in order to get closer to your child, and you're missing that. Anyways, then we move on to the dad. Now listen, I want to preface, I am not shaming anybody. Listen, it is what it is. But I have many, many a question. But this was the thing that were everyone collectively, I think around the world, who was watching this documentary when it first came out said, what? Like, we're all like, what is happening here? So he went to him, this creep, went to Bob and said, hey, let's go for a drive. Yeah. And apparently he was saying things like, I can't stand my wife. I need to have sex. Then go talk to your wife. Like, what does this have to do with Bob? But anyways, he's apparently then said, hey, Bob, you know what? Crazy idea I'm having. Do you think that maybe you could relieve me? It's just school stuff. Bob, it's fine. That's what boys do. Boys relieve each other, apparently. This is what we do. It's fine, Bob. Dude, please, Bob, I need relief. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. So, I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm a woman. Um, so I don't know. I don't know. But I feel like if I were Bob and I have this man coming to me, someone who I'm assuming you aren't attracted to because you're not gay, is coming to you and saying, relieve me, Bob, because I can't fuck my wife. Meanwhile, he's literally 2 seconds away from fucking your wife, and you go on to relieve him by doing a hand job. I mean, sakes. I'm speechless. I don't know what to say because my thing is, you're, I'm assuming, a straight man or identify as a straight man. What happens when he is ultimately relieved? What do we do after that? Do we just pretend like his fluids aren't on your hand? Because I think anyone who has relieved a man knows that's impossible to not get that on your hand. What is going on? What is going on? Now, I don't want to besmirch him. I know he is my past, but I have so many questions. I am so confused. Then the creep admits, I had to enter into a gay relationship in order to get close to Jan. No, you didn't. I mean, listen, you should not be doing any of this in order to get close to Jan. You shouldn't be trying to get close to Jan. You're an adult. She's a child. But no, you don't. No, you don't. You are not entering, quote unquote, into a gay relationship or gay situation in order to get close to Jan. You're doing it for blackmail reasons. More on that later. He apparently told dad, I had sex with an aunt once. So he's in therapy apparently. A way for him to deal with the fact that he had sex with an aunt, was for him to be alone with his daughters. You got a problem with that? This is part of therapy. It's fine. And what do they say? What do they say in this moment? We both felt uncomfortable, but was this therapy? No. Listen to me. If a man is coming to you and saying, hey, my therapist says in order for me to feel better about having sex with my aunt, I need to have exposure therapy to your daughters. And you sit there and say, well, it's part of his therapy. I guess it's fine. No, he has his own daughters. Which again, no therapist is actually saying, hey, be close to little girls in order to deal with that? What the fuck? I'm so confused. Turns out, y'all, the therapist, he wasn't a therapist. He actually had his license revoked. I'm not surprised. Because if that's the advice he's giving people, yeah, he need to have it revoked. So what does he do while he is alone with their daughters? He's molesting Jan. He apparently was giving her sleeping pills in order to do so. Bob says, we had no idea that he was interested in Jan. What the fuck? How did you miss this? How? The red flags were all there. How did you miss that he was, quote unquote, interested in your 12-year-old daughter? We didn't know what a child molester is. Hey, you don't need to know what a child molester is, I guess. But what you do need to know is that there are creeps out there in the world who will want to be interested in your children. It's called pedophilia. And I don't know if his brother was using terminology like pedophile back then, or if that's a word he acquired over time, but I'm going to guess he knew. So if he knew, how did you miss this? So according to court transcripts, he would sleep in her bed for 3 to 4 times per week for 6 fucking months. Right up until she was taken. So let's go through what Jan was experiencing during that time. So day 1 of kidnapping, she woke up and found herself strapped. So her arms and legs were strapped, and she heard a monotone voice from this like radio. She thought she was abducted by a UFO because that's what it sounded like. She was in and out of consciousness because she's been drugged. When she woke up, she was not strapped and was told by the aliens she was part alien. Her dad was actually not her dad. She was told that she had to complete a mission, and that mission was having a child with someone to save the alien race by the time she was 16. If she didn't, they had a backup plan, and that backup plan was to use Susan because she was also part alien. Now, go meet your male companion for whom you're going to have this child with. And would you not believe it, y'all? Her male companion is this fucking creep. He explains, hey, I was driving, then the car started shaking. She said, well, we have this mission. The whole thing did feel strange, she said, but she was 12. She thought, well, if I'm an alien, then that explains why everything is strange. But she says, like, I know I was 12 years old and he was 40 years old, but I believed all of this. Of course she did. She was a child. I don't besmirch her that. Of course she would believe this. So for the next 2 weeks they drove. She felt that she was drugged most of the time, but there was these books that were in the motorhome about sex, and she was told that it's time. And it was at that time that he raped her. Now she does describe the rape in the sense of it wasn't violent or anything like that, but I don't really want to talk more about it than that. Um, Ultimately, whether it was violent or not, this man raped her. So they then get correspondence from the creep, the parents, saying, "Listen, we want to come home. We do. We really want to come home, but we also want to get married. We actually got married in Mexico, but it doesn't matter because that's not legal in the States. Apparently, which I really hope they've changed this, in Mexico, you can be 12 years old and get married without consent from your parents. Mexico, please do better if you're not doing better." When he called, they were able to trace the call. And with that, they got Mexican police out there to go and get them. They went to the motorhome, got them, arrested them, well, arrested him, I should say, and they took them to a Mexican prison. He ended up bribing one of the officers with like a ring that he had in order to talk to Jan. And it was in this moment he tells her, hey, tell your parents, like, I made a mistake. You know, it was an accident. Took you further out than I was supposed to. Um, he said, but I want to tell you, in the span of being arrested, I got visited by the aliens. So there are four things that you can't talk about. This is what they're telling me. You can't talk about them in particular. You can't talk about the mission. Therefore, you can't talk about the sex. You can't talk about the drugs. If you do, Carol, her little sister, will go blind. Your dad, he'll be removed. Now, Jan took that as he's going to be killed. And then we'll take Susan, and you, ma'am, will be vaporized. He also told her that she couldn't have anything physical, any type of physical contact with another man, including her father. So I'm going to assume even like hugs and that kind of thing, she wasn't allowed to do that. And it's at this point that her parents come and they get her, and she said, like, you know, she was worried about the creep. Why did you call the FBI? I was fine. I was on vacation. When they got on the plane, like, she just wouldn't sit by Bob. Anyways, at that point, this creep was extradited back to the States, and he was indicted. Her parents took her to the doctor, and I'm gonna rant about this too. The doctor said, well, I mean, her hymen's still intact. There are no signs of sexual trauma. Now, this part I do need to talk about in order to make this part make sense. She described when he was raping her the first time that he only maybe inserted about an inch of himself into her, which ultimately would be the reason why her hymen was most likely still intact. But the hymen is not the end all be all. Of course, in this case, it would determine sexual contact. But I believe he did that on purpose. I think he knew what he was doing. Of course, he did. He knew that I have to make sure that we keep that intact and I, can't go all the way in there, I guess. Fucking creep. And everything was tactic. Um, the FBI told the family he was released, stay away from him. And guess what, guys? Guess what? I bet you're thinking they stayed away. Nope. Nope. We're not even close to the end of this documentary. So that means they did not do that. They didn't listen. During Christmas, his wife ended up coming over and saying, "Hey, Bob, can we talk? You need to drop those charges or we will expose what you did with this creep," meaning the hand job. So what does the family do? The family ends up signing affidavits saying he did not take Jan by force. It was all a misunderstanding. I think it's the prosecutor, ended up saying at this time, they cared more about their reputation than their child's safety. Boom, mic drop. Abso-fucking-lutely. The FBI, so the prosecutor, sorry, was pissed. He said the trial was still happening, but with no witnesses, the trial ended up being a bust, and he was released on his own recognizance. Jan talks about the first time she saw him after that, and he was in her room. He just magically fucking showed up in her room. He had a way in. What woke her up was the little box with the aliens. The mission, he said, was still happening. So he would get in touch with her and she would do what she was told to do. There were times at school he would have notes given to her in order for her to meet at like a phone booth, for example. He would give her love letters. This fucking creep would give this 12-year-old girl love letters. The love she said she had for him as a father changed to love as a man. She told her mother that she wanted to marry him and have children with him. She's 12, y'all. Move on to spring 1975. Mom and this creep would talk every day. Why? I don't fucking know. He told her, if you meet me, I will tell you everything about what happened when he had Jan. So she went to his motorhome because he's been kicked out of his home, I guess. He told her, "I love you, Marion. Yeah, we could have a great life all, together. All you gotta do is divorce that pesky husband of yours." She said, "I stay too long. I stay too long." And then they ended up having sex. Ma'am, you didn't stay too long. The problem was you went there at all. The problem was you allowed this man to manipulate you. The problem was you ended up having sex with this man. That's the problem. But the main problem is you went there at all, not that you stayed too long. She says she had an affair with him for, check this shit, 8 months. What? The creep ended up calling Bob because, duh, he's using you to manipulate the situation, and ended up telling him, "Oh, by the way, I'm fucking your wife." That's when the problem started in their marriage. Bob ended up filing for divorce, and she was given a subpoena to leave the house because, and I agree, she was endangering their 3 children. He, the creep would end up saying, "Marion, you know what, if you leave him, I'll get you an apartment." With what money? She said, "I will not leave my husband." Ma'am, you were already having an affair behind your husband's back. You ultimately already left your husband. He said, "Well, you could file charges because, he's a homosexual. That's endangering your child or your children." didn't think homosexuality was endangering of one's child, but hey, again, coerced him into doing it. He didn't have to do it, but he coerced him into doing it and using it against him. That's all this is about. She ended up going to a lawyer who told her, cut out the cancer, aka this creep. So she went back home and said, it's over with the creep, and they ended up staying together. The creep ended up leaving the area and moved over to Jackson Hole, and it kind of opened up like this amusement type place. And Jan was like having a little bit of a temper tantrum. She wants to go. She wants to go. And the creep called and said, hey, she's going to end up just hitchhiking if you just let her go. So what do? Her mom ended up putting her on a plane, and Bob was pissed. She ended up staying for 2 weeks, and the mission continued. So, for those 2 weeks, he was raping her. He told her he was getting a divorce. I don't give a fuck. His brother said he was happy. Don't know how with the little girl, but that was his deal. No! Fucking no. No. Marion came to get her, and Jan was like, I want to go back. And he would call the family and harass the family, which is what he's already been doing. And then Jan disappeared again. And that is where I am stopping the first part. So, again, if you are on the main feed and you're hearing this, head on over to patreon.com/reality tea times 2, and you can listen to the second half of this, which will be released, or actually is already released by the time you're getting this. So you can head on over there and you can get that. And it's exclusive to Patreon. That will not be released on the main feed. But yeah, I'm excited, question mark, to talk about this documentary. Because obviously, yes, I've watched this documentary, seen the, what was it, 12-part series, or whatever the hell they did, um, with, Colin Hanks, and, which was very, very well done. And, I've obviously watched this. I've seen Jan on Dr. Phil. There was something else that she did as well. And I think another documentary that she was involved in. I can't remember. But I've seen all the different things about this, so I'm very excited to be talking about it. This case is nuts. But that is it for me, guys. That is it for this episode. Again, if you want to hear this, if you're on the main feed, the rest of this coverage, you can, again, head on over to Patreon, where you will get that on the 3rd tier for $7 a month. But that's it, guys, for me. We will talk next week for the second part of this documentary. Until then, guys, bye.